Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's meeting of the South Planning Committee. Welcome to today's meeting of the South Planning Committee. Item 1, apologies for absence on appointment of substitute members.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies are received from Councillor Derek Bambridge, Councillor Phil Bickle is here as his substitutes, and Councillor Rain Conley, no substitutes. Thank you, Chair.
Item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any? Councillor Bickle.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I declare a personal interest on item 10. My wife is the applicant.
Thank you. Councillor Goodley.
Yes, I declare an interest on item 6. I'm a member of Toaster Town Council where this has been discussed, and Councillor Askew is here from Toaster Town Council to discuss this matter. So I will remain silent on the issue.
Thank you very much. Anyone for any more? Very much. Item 3 of the minutes. Confirm the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 6th of March. Can I sign these minutes? Do you agree? Thank you very much. Item 4, Chairman's announcements. As this is the final meeting of the committee prior to the WNC elections on the 1st of May, I'd like to thank all members and officers who have attended this committee in its various different guises since WNC came into being in 2021. It's been an interesting 4 years, and your hard work has been greatly appreciated. I would also like to thank our legal officer, Catherine Hall, for all of her assistance too, as she is attending her final meeting before leaving the council in May. Members will also note that there is an item of urgent business on this agenda that was published yesterday, and a printed copy of this has been left on your tables. Now the usual announcements. Members of the public are permitted to film, broadcast and report on the meeting subject to the effective running of the meeting not being affected. Only those people who have registered in line with the committee speaking procedure may address the committee. Members of the public are requested not to call out during the committee's discussions on any item. All speakers will have 3 minutes in which to make their statement and are asked to remain seated after they've been addressed to the committee to answer any questions the committee may have. This meeting is being webcast on the council's corporate YouTube channel. Therefore, when speaking, please speak clearly and concisely into the microphone at all times. There are no planned fire drills, so if the alarm does sound, evacuation instructions will be given by Democratic Services. Please ensure that any devices are switched off or onto silent mode. For the benefit of the public watching remotely, I will now introduce the top tables starting on my far right. So that's where we have Catherine Hall, my head of legal services, Richard Woods, the Democratic Services Officer, and Councillor Stephen Clark, the Chairman of the committee. On my left, we have Simon Ellis. Next to him, we have Nathan Loud, the Development Management Team Leader. Then we have the planning officers who are presenting the applications today. So we have Chris Bates, who's presenting items 6 and 7. Ben Parvin, who's presenting items 8 and 9. And we have Paul Everard there, who's presenting our urgent business item. So without further ado, are there any, item 5, are there any proposed committee items? Thank you. Without further ado, item 6, Bell Plantation, Richmond Street.
Thank you, Chair. It's me who leads this item. Yeah, Mark. So the proposal relates to the Bell Plantation Garden Centre, which is located to the north of Toaster, within the northeast quadrant of the A43 and A5 roundabout. The site is access off the A5 with 300 on-site car parking spaces. The existing site comprises of a garden centre, which occupies a large portion of the site, together with various smaller units which operate within Class E, and also sui generis uses as set out within the table on page 15 of the report. As set out within this table, The total floor space occupied by the unit on the site equates to 7,385 square metres, of which 3,764 square metres is occupied by the existing garden centre, and the remaining 3,621 square metres is contained within the smaller units within the site, which includes 677 square metres, which is occupied by the existing coffee shop and soft play area. Just to run through a few slides, this is the photo showing the access of the Watling Street. This is the site frontage showing the car parking, areas of car parking within the site. This is a photo showing units 15 to 20. This shows the garden centre on the left and the coffee shop on the right. And these show some more units. The left one shows units 12 to 14 and the right one shows units 10 to 11. And similar, these are more units within the site. So this plan shows the existing site arrangement and floor plans and gives you an idea of how the units are distributed around the site. This existing site plan then shows how those units make up the different uses which currently occupy the site. The proposal can be broken down into two elements. As set out within section 3.1 of the report, the site has an extensive planning history, and this proposal seeks to consolidate all of those existing uses within the site into one planning permission. The second is to allow a more flexible use within Class E to be operated within the various ancillary units within the site, as shown in orange on this plan and also on page 16 of the agenda. This will result in an uplift in Class EA by 999 square metres and an uplift in Class E, B to G1 by 1,500. Page 23 of the report provides clarity of what Class E encapsulates. Class EA is the retail element of the Class E use class. The proposal seeks to ensure that the garden centre remains the focal anchor use on the site, whilst allowing flexibility between the existing units within Class E, and in so doing will assist in helping the existing business adapt. The increase in use in Class E uses has passed the sequential test and would not result in a significant adverse impact upon the Towcester town centre. Similarly, the uplift in units to be used for retail purposes within Class EA would not have a significant impact upon the viability and vitality of the town centre, as demonstrated within the submitted retail impact assessment. With regards to the impact on the viability and vitality of the town centre, there is a suite of planning conditions to mitigate this impact and control the uses of the site. These conditions are summarised on page 25 and 26 of the agenda, with a full list of conditions on 29 onwards. It should be noted that an additional condition is sought following the publication of this agenda, which you can see on the screen. And this is proposed condition number 15, which seeks to prevent any subdivision of units within the site. As this is defined to the submitted plan, showing each unit, such condition will be easily enforceable and has been agreed by the applicant's agent. All technical consultees' responses have been summarised within the report, and it should be noted that no objections have been received by the planning policy team, national and local highways, and the economic development team. The economic development team noting the economic benefits that the proposed scheme would bring are summarised on page 20 of the report. However, an objection has been received by the Towcester Town Council, and you will note on the addendum that their position has been corrected from that stated on the report to one of an objection. As per the committee report, it is considered that the proposal complies with the development plan as a whole, and there are no material considerations to indicate otherwise. And therefore, the recommendation is one for approval, subject to two conditions and the additional condition 15. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And we have our first speaker, Charlie Askew, on behalf of the Toaster Town Council. Would you come to the front, please? Press the button that faces the microphone. The red light will come on. Please start speaking when you're ready. And the timer is over there. Screen on to your right. We have 3 minutes.
I fear that some of what I'm about to say may have been dealt with by the extra planning permission which was on the screen. I'm afraid I don't have enough time to figure it out.
Would you speak closer to the microphone?
The officer's report in paragraph 7, 19 to 21 deal with the question of whether increasing the floor space can be used for class EA by 999 square metres and class E, B to G by 59 square metres represents an acceptable change. They address the question of whether or not this sequential test be judged to have been passed. The sequential test would indeed have been passed if the application was for a single occupier who wanted to take up all 999 square metres of space. But this is not what's being requested. Several of the units, which are currently not retail, but with this permission could be converted to retail, are less than 110 square metres, and as such, I would suggest would fail the sequential test. To apply the sequential test for the whole of the 199 square metres, even though the space in the smaller box is, I believe, a misapplication of the test. The flexibility to use up to 999 square metres of the 2,000 square metres currently used for other than retail, at a size of 10 metres by 10 metres, for example, if you laid that along the high street, would reach from the building that used to house the HSBC Bank all the way to the pet shop next to the post office. It's an enormous chunk of high street. I ask you to reject the application because the flexibility the grant the applicant could be used to substantially increase the floor space used for retail in unit sizes which would be in direct competition with the high street, impacting its vitality and viability in contravention of local policy RAT1. Furthermore, the officer's report at paragraph 9718 deals with the question of whether granting permission for the existing permitted uses to move between certain units. This permission could potentially be used to subdivide the existing EA floor space of large units into smaller
We have 1 minute left.
which will be of similar size to those on the high street. In order to protect the town centre, I suggest the following conditions. The maximum permitted floor space for each class of use be fixed to the same as the sum of the current floor space permitted for that class of use. For example, 1,577 square metres for EA. The number of occupiers for each class of use to be fixed the same as the current number for that class, e.g. 10 for class EA. With these conditions attached, the applicant would still have the ability to move things around within the space that they have and deal with changes of occupier without having to get planning permission for every change. Thank you.
Thank you. If you remain there in case of questions from members. Are there any questions to Mr. Askew? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Adrian Fox, the agent for the applicant. With the red light on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Planning Committee. My name is Adrian Fox, I'm the agent acting on behalf of the applicant and joined by the applicant himself, Jeff O'Rourke. We've worked closely and collaboratively with your officers throughout the consideration of our planning application. We fully endorse the officer's recommendation to grant planning permission. The applicant is a family business operating on the application site since 1987. The site comprises a well-established destination attracting visitors to Toaster from a wide area. Bell Plantation is also a major employer, currently employing around 200 people and accommodating a wide range of uses ancillary to the main garden centre function, most of which are local businesses. Indeed, 75% of the existing businesses are owner-occupiers. Bell Plantation provides the opportunity for local businesses and the application proposals will allow these local businesses to grow and adapt. The proposals before you today do not seek to create new floor space, simply seek to formalise the existing consent alongside allowing some greater flexibility in use of the existing floor space. This flexibility is critical for the long-term success of the family business and for the applicant to continue their operation in Toaster. This planned investment represents a good news story for the area. This is reflected by the consultative response from the Economic Development Officer, which is fully supporting the application, recognising the economic benefits. All relevant planning matters have been addressed, and the officers have found the proposal to be entirely acceptable against relevant planning policy. Some concerns have been raised by Toaster Town Council on retail impact grounds, and the proposals could be detrimental to the vitality and viability of Toaster Town Centre. Whilst the retail impact is not a policy consideration in termination of application proposals, as acknowledged by your officers, a robust retail impact assessment has been submitted to address any potential concerns. This demonstrates that the proposals are unlikely to lead to a significant adverse impact, which is the policy test, in the long-term vitality and viability of Toaster Town Centre. This position is accepted by your officers. However, to minimise any impact, a number of conditions have been agreed to control the site's future use. This includes a restriction on the future subdivision of existing units and the need for Bell Plantation to remain a garden centre destination. Instead, the continued investment of Bell Plantation has the potential to lead to spin-off benefits and for existing businesses within the town centre. The recent customer survey of visitors identified that more than a third link a trip between the garden centre and the town centre. This is significant given that Bell Plantation draws customers from a wide area that may not otherwise visit Toaster. These linked trips mean there is an opportunity for existing and future businesses on the high street to benefit from the long-term success of Bell Plantation. For all these reasons, I will strongly urge you to support your office's recommendation in grant planning permission for the proposal before you this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. If you remain there in case of questions from members. Are there questions for Mr. Fox? Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Chair. When you actually did your investigations, were there any specific product areas that actually could be satisfied by the town centre that weren't, should we say, being provided by the Bell Plantation area? Because when I look at the list there, it doesn't seem to be too conflicts of interest.
I think ultimately it's going to be a garden centre led development continue, but there is some sort of wide ancillary uses. One of the driving rationales for the application is to try and allow flexibility for those uses to adapt and change to complement the town centre. If you look at the town centre, it's not really predominantly a retail destination. It's lots of services, pubs, restaurants, estate agents, things which aren't available at Bell Plantation. This application, with the conditions as well, will continue to complement the town centre. So I think we're not 100% sure what will go in there or what will change. This is part of the reasons for this application was to respond to the very complex planning history of the site, to give a single permission to allow both sort of the clients and also officers to understand what's allowed. One of the conditions, I think it's quite an important one, every 2 years we'll provide a plan setting out how we comply with the sort of restrictions. So you go to walk around the site, you can see how we comply with conditions, so we continue to complement the town centre. Hopefully I've answered the question, not sure I have. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Sharps.
Slightly confused, although you just said that the town centre is not really retail based, that's my words, not yours, where people directly. Yeah, you want to complement it. Can I ask you to tell me how you're going to do that with this plan?
I think in the same way as now, there's a lot of evidence which sort of shows that people visit Bell Plantation and visit town centre for different purposes, because what you find at Bell Plantation you can't find in town centre. In our view, that will continue moving forward. So looking at the sort of evidence, Bell Plantation does draw trade from a large area, bringing people to Toaster, which provides the opportunity for link trips to take place. So we think in the same way as it is now, because you go down the high street, I've been to hundreds of high streets across the country, Toaster is a very healthy centre in terms of no vacancies, number of businesses, and that will continue. That's trading successfully alongside Bell Plantations there, in our view, based on the evidence we submitted, that will continue. Bell Plantation will complement the offer, providing a different offer to what's available in the town centre.
Councillor Rowland.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick question for me. You obviously say that you want to complement the town, but have you made a presentation to the town council? Because obviously I see they objected. I wondered if you'd actually gone and spoke to them.
No, we have not presented to town council. There's a lot of planning history associated with this application. There's been numerous concerns raised in previous application to town council. To address that, we did a comprehensive impact assessment to try and provide the evidence and the comfort to officers and to the town council and the third parties that the proposals are acceptable in planning policy terms, which we think it does, and the officers agree with our position, but we didn't present to the town council before.
Any further questions for Mr. Fox? Thank you very much. Well, is there anything there that you thought that you wish to come back on?
No.
Any questions for officers? Councillor Bartlett.
Yeah, condition 1, development shall be done within 3 years, which is normal. But if this is really consolidating existing permissions, how do you know it's been begun? Or how do you know it hasn't been begun? What action does the applicant have to take to show that the development hereby permitted has been begun?
Would you like to answer that, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, so I guess the application is in two parts really. It's a consolidation of the existing permissions on the site, but then it's also the proposal, which is obviously the uplift in the retail uses and the change of uses. So that would be the kind of like the acid test as to whether development has been implemented.
Okay, so the applicant has permission to change uses. Whether he does or not is a commercial matter, which isn't our business. So it's quite possible that he won't have changed any uses. So can you really use change of use as a criterion for beginning?
Well, obviously condition 7 obviously relates to within 2 years of the permission. They're then required to then provide every year to provide us with a plan to show how they're dealing with the complying with the conditions set out within the report. So again, that will be another test as to whether the development has been implemented and also whether it's been implemented in accordance with the conditions set out before you.
Any further questions? Councillor Sharps.
Yes, we have a gentleman from Toaster Town Council. Could we have the officers comments to his questions, please?
Yes, I understand the concerns of the town council, and I hope that this additional condition that we're proposing, condition 15, will go a long way to addressing their concerns. So it will prevent the subdivision of any units. So you couldn't then subdivide one of the large units into 5 or 6 smaller units, which would then obviously impact upon smaller units which are within the high street itself.
Currently, it says that it will be remaining as the plantation, as the garden centre with 50/50. Obviously, that's the current plan under the conditions we have in front of us. We're not here to look at the future, but part of looking at planning permission always is the development of the site. Now, should this condition and the site change, with a Class C, that allows for a considerable amount of change on that site, because Class C is quite open. So my concerns really, and the question is, what would then be able to be cited on that site should the Bell Plantation withdraw in the future?
Yes, I guess, should the garden centre cease to operate, which is what you're suggesting, then they would have to come before us to obviously then reevaluate or relook at what that existing building could be used. They couldn't then change that into a general class E use, because there are a number of conditions. First of all, which obviously restricts the goods that can be sold within the garden centre, and then further conditions which obviously set out that 50% of the floor space should be occupied by the garden centre. So there are type restrictions to obviously prevent the change of the garden centre itself.
Thank you. I think that will cover it. Thank you. Any further questions from officers? No? Could I have your views on the application, please? Who would like to start with that? Councillor Pritchard? Oh, Councillor Barrett.
Yeah, for me, any concerns have been mitigated with condition 15. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be following officer's advice here. So my recommendation would be that we accept officer's advice and move forward.
Thank you very much. Any other views? Councillor Pritchard?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Looking at the application itself, as my colleague, Councillor Barrett was saying, is that it just seems to be in a situation where, in fact, it's culminating all of the businesses in one place, and also potentially for further development. And I would actually also endorse Councillor Barrett's recommendation to accept the application.
Thank you. Any other views on this? Councillor Sharps?
I think that although I may not necessarily endorse it as fellow councillors have, I see that there's strong conditions here. I think that I understand that this is a plan that once the conditions are mitigated and looked at, I think it will be well looked at by WSC.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Barrett, are you making a proposal to approve the application?
Yeah, can summarise with condition 15 mitigates the concerns and we'll accept officer's advice.
And do we have a second? Mr. Woods, would you like to summarise what we're voting on?
Thank you, Chair. It's proposed by Councillor Barrett, accepted by Councillor Pritchard, that the committee accepts the officer recommendation for approval, subject to the addition of condition 15, sets out the committee updates, which is actually still on the screen, hopefully. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Moving to the vote then, all those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against? No. Any abstentions? Would you summarise the vote, please?
Thank you very much. That is 8 for, 0 against, 1 abstention. And Councillor Public declined to take part. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. The application is approved. Item 7. Now, Mr. Toaster Road, looking on the site.
Thank you, Chair. Application at Land East and Toaster Road, Milton Keynes. This application was brought by Councillor Brown, considering the impact on the open space and also impact on the conservation area. This is the erection of 5 dwellings with associated access and landscaping. The application site is located in the settlement of village of Milton Keynes, located along the eastern side of Toaster Road. The application site comprises an irregular shaped vacant parcel of pasture land located in the south-western corner of Milton Keynes and also in the conservation area, and extends to approximately 0.45 hectares The mature lime tree is located centrally in the site, however, this is not subject to a TPO. Shown on the screen is conservation area boundaries. The listed buildings marked up in grey. The purpose of this slide is to illustrate that the site is not designated as a local green space, and so therefore, contrary to Councillor Brown's calling local plan policy GS2, is not engaged or relevant to the purposes of the plan application assessment. For members' benefit and to demonstrate the change of the land over time, OS maps from 1885 and 1952 are shown. This shows the undeveloped nature of the land as farmland in association with the Manor Farm complex directly to its north. Later images demonstrate how the site has once again changed and been fragmented over time through the conversion of agricultural buildings and the erection of numerous residential dwellings to the north, east, and southeast, collectively providing an infill area of land. This shows views across Toaster Road in both directions, clearly acknowledging the provision of housing and how this has encroached onto the original farmland setting for residents. Particularly the dwelling in Augustin site, which was one of two dwellings to be approved in 2010. The top image shows the site with farm buildings in situ. The bottom image clearly illustrates the collective residential dwellings being built along the eastern side of the site, again advocating the fragmenting of the ones at agricultural use. Viewpoints looking south with the Manor Farm complex and where the proposed access is to be located off Toaster Road. Give some context to the site. The adjoining property to the east and south of the site is shown. This gives viewpoints looking north to south, with the mature lime tree shown in the foreground. Taken from within the site, the adjoining properties to the east and southeast are shown, with the properties approved in the 2010, again shown on the right-hand side image. These images looking north, the Manor Farm complex, which is listed, is also shown. Finally, images of the site from different sections. The first indicating the retaining wall, which is along the north stretch of Toaster Road, the green footage stretch shown, which is towards the south. The final scheme has been a result of extension. Sorry, the final scheme has been a result of extensive discussions between the LPA, consultees, and the agent, and seen a reduction from 6 to 5 dwellings, which enables fluid and well spaced out development in a courtyard style arrangement. This layout pays homage to the locality and a historical agricultural use. The most northern block abuts the boundary in a bid to respect to the setting of the adjacent listed buildings and to act as a continuous build form as such. The mature lime tree provides a focal point of the development and carefully constructed around this. Also, the arrangement of the properties enables sufficient separation distances between one. The arrangement of the properties enables sufficient separation distances between one another, and also the adjoining neighbouring properties to enable the level of community to be secured. Also, an extensive landscaping scheme has been provided, which includes the planted trees along Toaster Road. The proposed access has been a result of extension discussions between the LPA and the local highway authority, which the access has been demonstrated to provide a good level of visibility in both directions. Also, the level of intensification, i.e. the coming goings, is to an average 50 a day, which should not give rise to negative impact on the highway network. Moreover, sufficient parking is provided on site for each dwelling. The dwellings will borrow architectural design cues from the local area. The plans show a high quality design using local limestone and natural slate roofs. Here are some of the section drawings. Section 2, at the bottom illustrates how the site looking forward will be on the Toaster Road. The section drawings are shown on the screen, once again illustrating high quality development and how this will simulate with the locality. A host of technical documents were submitted by Airport Group to satisfy technical contactees. The majority of these have been revised in response to these comments. The extent of these documents further exemplifies the level of consideration by the applicant to demonstrate both compliance and to ensure a high quality development is delivered. As acknowledged in the committee report, expensive list of benefits are to be delivered. And the application is considered acceptable in all aspects. Whilst less than substantial harm was identified in both conservation and second listed buildings, paragraph 215 of the NPPF is therefore engaged. And paragraph 215 of the NPPF is engaged, and this harm is weighed against the public benefits associated with the proposal. As such, the overall benefits outweighs this identified harm. Owing to this, the office recommendation is to commission subject to petitions appended to the future.
Thank you very much. And before I turn to our speakers, Mr. Woods, would you read a statement from Councillor Brown, please?
Thank you, Chair. This is the statement of Councillor Adam Brown, local ward member for Buckbrook and the originator of this calling. I'll now read the statement. I object to this application primarily on the grounds that it abuts the Milton Mousehole Conservation Area and the development proposed fails to meet the requirements to preserve or enhance the conservation area. A huge amount of effort goes into the designation of conservation areas with consideration of the relevant geographic area. Milton Mousehole is no exception, and arguably the only reason the plot of land which is the subject of tonight's application was not included is that it is vacant green space. Where these properties are to be constructed, despite some effort to provide some consistency in terms of design, they would inevitably impact upon the setting of Milton Hall and the other adjacent properties. Furthermore, there is justifiable concern about the loss of green space which adds to the village setting and the access point off the main highway, which is close to an existing junction. In summary, my objections are that the application does not satisfy policy LH1 brackets 1B. This development would result in a loss of green open space that contributes positively to the character of the village. Policy GS2 brackets 2 local green spaces. This application meets none of the criteria in this policy. The policy HE6, the application would not sufficiently preserve or enhance the conservation area abutting the proposed development. That concludes the statement. Councillor Brown. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Turning to our speakers now. Our first speaker is Leanne Riley, a local resident. Speaking as an objector together with Jerry Forskett, who is a local resident. So, can you come separately, please? First of all, Leanne Riley. Start with you, ready.
First of all, I want to begin by them pictures made that field look absolutely like it's a lovely field in a village. It's situated on an S-bend with at least 3 turnings. So please look at them pictures because they make it look like this lovely field. It's not, it's dangerous. So first of all, I live on the S-bend next to the proposed palace site with my husband and 3 children. I feel the evidence provided today doesn't reflect how dangerous the S-bends really are, especially considering the proposed palace site's only got a single track entrance. The 2 S-bends either side are blind corners, and 15 to 20% of vehicles are exceeding the speed limit in this section of the road. I know this because I obviously live there. I personally know this as I have recently had an extension on my property, which I also share a single track entrance with another household. It has been an absolutely, completely, utterly nightmare, if I'm honest with you. I've had multiple tradespeople coming and going and having to wait on the Toaster Road. People have been coming round the corner far too fast, and I've actually had to close my eyes a few times, scared that with my children in the back of the car, what was going to happen. Having to wait on the Toaster Road access drive causing tailbacks. Although this is a one-off event for us, this will be a daily occurrence for 5 households, which will have at least 2 cars to each property, So you're looking at least 10 and a further visitors, delivery, drivers, etc. Since I moved into the property 3 years ago, there has been multiple minor and serious accidents requiring police, ambulance, fire engines. I've even had to go out there myself and do first aid. I mean, it's a horrible experience. The road pollution data doesn't provide a full picture of the accidents on the S-Bends, as some are not recorded. So okay, when I work from home, I constantly hear beeping horns and screeching of tyres from near misses, some of which are lorries. There's a lorry park within half a mile of the proposed site, and a communicable unit potential given going ahead at Young's Garden Centre, and a new development down the road with new houses are being built in the area, all of which will increase the number of lorries and cars on this section of the road that nobody's thought about at all. My fear with the planning proposal is it will increase the opportunities for more serious accidents, having 5 homes with at least 2 vehicles plus delivery vehicles accessing through a single track, no double, single. On another note, I'm worried that the drainage has not been addressed in the plans. The field sits a lot higher than mine property, which is the barn. My neighbours.
I'm going to stop you there. Your time's up. If you remain there, I was going to make questions from members. Are there any questions for our speaker? No. Thank you very much. We now have Jerry Forsett also to speak as an objector.
Chairman, councillors, my neighbour and I are the closest of the 10 dwellings to the application site and most affected by this proposal. We object to the application for 2 main reasons. Our houses were permitted and converted on a site of redundant farm buildings, and the development was restricted to the area by your officers because the land now before you was considered to be relevant to the setting, the conservation area and the village itself. We therefore cannot understand why we're now being asked to grant permission for a development on it. Nothing has changed and we're not aware of any overriding need for this development in the village. Your office report at paragraph 7.13, it is clear on this point. And this land makes a positive contribution to the village setting. Why are you being requested to permit an irreversible loss? The second consideration is the scheme itself. It is inward looking. It's an inward looking scheme that does not relate in design or layout to the rest of the village and does not respect the open character of the land. Just another string of dwellings along the main road. It has insufficient open space even to allow for any biodiversity net gain, relying on its extensive time in application to ignore this. In fact, it involves a rear access to the plots immediately adjoining both mine and my neighbours' narrow plots and would have a significant material impact on the living conditions of both properties by reason of noise being overlooked, light pollution and general disruption. Your officers make no reference to this important part of the scheme. Why? Your officer's report demonstrates that this is not a straightforward development of an area of open land. In addition to paragraph 7.13, 7.14 and 9.3 refer to it as only on balance is to be recommended. And in paragraph 7.15, the considerations are only broadly consistent with the locality. Chairman, you have 53 letters of objection from the village and a further detailed objection from Milton Mouser Parish Council. Despite these objections, no officer has visited to gain our point of view. For the reasons that we have set out, we submit that this is contrary to your policy SS2. Please respect this policy and we urge the committee to refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you remain there in case of questions from members. Are there any questions for Mr. Forsett? Councillor David Webb.
Thank you. You mentioned just in the close that no officer visited the site.
No officer has visited any of the residents that abut the site, the 10 dwellings. There's no correspondence.
Any further questions for our speaker? Thank you very much. Now we have Mr. Paul Heath on behalf of the Wilton Malton Parish Council.
Evening, I'm Parish Councillor at Milton Malta. Although there have been changes to the original plans, we feel that significant problems still exist. There are insufficient details of how surface drainage will be managed. It's not been determined if foul water drainage can be accomplished without resort to septic tanks. Similarly, there are no final details of the lighting provisions, so there are concerns about light pollution effects on neighbouring properties. Also, the use of tarmac for the internal driveway is inappropriate to the setting. We feel that plots A and B represent an unacceptable design compromise resulting from the new layout. The houses border directly onto the busy main road, and the lower rear garden walls reduce privacy. Both factors are inappropriate for houses of this size and potential value. There's also limited space for emergency vehicle access, notwithstanding the fact that each residence has sufficient parking space under the regulations. An external footpath has now been provided, but it would be more useful if it went in the opposite direction towards the village amenities. The local highway authority now says the repositioned entrance achieves a vehicle visibility display of 106 metres, which they claim is sufficient. However, even using the applicant's own traffic survey data, the 85th percentile speed of 40.7 miles an hour requires display of almost 120 metres, according to all published guidelines. We therefore dispute that safe displays have been achieved, and the access still represents a significant danger. Milton Malta Conservation Area Appraisal urges protection of the remaining open paddocks in the village and warns against inappropriate developments in what is a restricted infill village. Policy SS2 of the local plan, part 2, states development should not harm neighbouring properties through noise, overshadowing, loss of privacy or outlook. We feel this development fails to ensure compliance with that requirement. Combination of all these factors renders the application unsatisfactory and inappropriate, and we urge the planning permission should be refused.
Thank you very much. I think we've made that in case of questions from members. Are there any questions for Mr. Heath? Councillor David Webb.
Sorry, both yourself and the previous speaker has mentioned drainage. Do you consider there's a serious risk of flooding?
Historically in the village, the adjacent small road, Malza Lane, has flooded, and we believe that the drains there are very old. So the flow from an extra 5 dwellings in that direction might overload the drain there.
And the second point you made, which did surprise me, on septic tanks, is there a possibility of the use of?
I understand there is a possibility that septic tanks may have to be used, which is mentioned in the application, but there's no final decision at this stage, despite the fact that they're seeking approval.
Thank you.
Councillor Bickle.
Yes, thank you. You made comments about lack of parking provision against policy, was it, on the site?
There is sufficient parking on the site, but because of the restricted nature of the access, if any extra vehicles need to visit the site, people visiting the dwellings there or emergency vehicles gaining access, the internal road system is extremely limited.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for our speaker? No? Thank you very much. Thanks. And now we have Mr. Andrew Parry, the agent for the applicants.
The scheme before you today is a product of a positive dialogue between officers and the applicant over several months, resulting in the development of 5 dwellings that is high quality, befitting of its location within the conservation area. The site sits within the settlement boundary of Milton Malster and therefore, in principle, represents a sustainable and appropriate location for new development in accordance with policy LH1. The land is also not identified as an important area of open space within the conservation area appraisal, nor does it contribute to any important views. It also has no public access. The applicants have put forward a low density and sensitively designed scheme that enhances the setting of the conservation area. This has been achieved by the use of traditional architecture, high quality materials such as ironstone and slate, and detailing that takes cues from historic properties elsewhere in the village. A condition will further secure these details. My client is not a volume house builder, and this is not a generic housing design, rather it's a bespoke, architecturally designed scheme. They are completing similarly high-end projects elsewhere in locations such as Stratford-upon-Avon. Generous spacing and landscaping between the plots results in a pattern of development that respects and reflects its surroundings. The layout will offer a good level of amenity for future occupiers. A minimum separation distances of 18 metres have been allowed between the existing properties, meaning there would be no significant impact on neighbours in terms of loss of light or overshadowing. The scheme also retains the mature lime tree, which will provide a focal point for the development. Your officer's view is that the scheme will lead to the lowest level of harm to the setting of the conservation area and nearby listed buildings. We agree that the limited harm is outweighed by the benefits of the proposal, which include provision of new family homes in a sustainable location, creation of jobs through the use of local subcontractors, additional spend in the local area to support shops and businesses, and a still payment of more than £300,000 towards local services and facilities. The application will also secure a new 120 metre long footway, which will provide existing and future residents with a continuous safe route into the south of the village. A footpath connection to the north is not an option as Malta Lane is too narrow. Safe and suitable access can be achieved to the site, and slightly visibility displays evidenced by local surveys have been accepted by your highways officers. Parking provision exceeds the council standards of 3 spaces per plot, with ample spaces also provided for site parking. In respect to drainage, the LFA makes no objection to the proposed solution, which is to utilise soakways via permeable paving. This accords with policy BN7A, which encourages the use of soaks. The connection will be made to the main sewer for foul sewage, which Anglian Water has raised no objection to. The homes will be energy efficient and exceed the requirements of building regulations. I would like to commend your officers on a robust assessment of these proposals. The report extends to 39 pages and includes 37 conditions, which underlines the thorough approach that they have taken. We fully support their conclusions, and this application accords with local and national policy, and there are no other material considerations that would justify refusal. I would urge your members to accept the officer's advice and approve this application.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Parry? Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Chair. When you look at the design of these particular properties, if I may say, from my perspective, is that it's not the most attractive designs. Does it really fit in with the local area? Because when you look at the size of the windows, perhaps we can have that put up on the screen. You know, it certainly doesn't, shall we say, become attractive and also fit in with the local surroundings.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell from these plans without sort of zooming in, really, but materials is a key consideration. So we've looked at ironstone, slate. The actual architectural detailing is something that officers have conditioned. So I can't, off the top of my head, remember which number condition it is, but there is a condition in there which will require further details of the detailing, and that's an opportunity to secure that sort of high quality level of design.
Does it fit in with the local surroundings?
I mean, I don't think it does. I mean, ironstone is obviously a classic material in the village, this village, and lots of villages in this area, as is the slate. So I think, in terms of materials and design, it's definitely.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you very much. Which officers or further you wish to come back on?
Yes, Chair. In terms of materials, I mean, we've got conditions which will be subject to samples being viewed on site, architectural detailing. So there's quite a robust approach to that. So yeah.
Which condition is that?
Theory. Conditions.
We think it's 4, is that
4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8 refers to the gas meters as well. So yeah, so we've got all those conditions.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
Yeah, perhaps further just add that obviously we've got condition 9, which relates to details of our landscaping. So note one concern was raised about a tarmac access and hard surfacing, but those details which are conditioned, as well as details relating to lighting and service water drainage.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pritchard?
Yes, thank you, Chair. With regards to conservation area, what sort of weight should we put on that's adjacent to a conservation area? Because presumably this is not in a conservation area. But what weight does this committee put on with regards to the conservation area?
It is a conservation area.
Conservation area. I mean, the weight is identified, obviously. They've submitted a heritage statement and also a heritage officer, so it's not subjective, but it's an approach and assessment they need to take to obviously how much weight we give to the harm. I mean, in the assessment, the harm is identified as less than substantial. That's owing to the overall kind of layout and the proximity to the listed buildings, and also how much kind of weight the area is in consideration to the conservation area appraisal. I mean, I think it's page 18 of the conservation area appraisal. Individually as an important space in the conservation area. So that's one of the reasons why we've been supposed to be acceptable.
Because in fact, earlier on you said it stated being in the conservation area, and I got the impression halfway through that in fact it was adjacent to the conservation area. But this is actually in the conservation.
Yes, it's adjacent to the building.
Any further questions to officers? Councillor Bicknell?
Yes, thank you, Chair. In the response from the local highway authority, initially they said that what was supplied was deemed not to be acceptable. Following the submission of an amended assessment, it was deemed to be acceptable. So what changed? They just wrote a nicer report. Change the access or do something positive. It just seems strange that 1 minute it's rubbish, the next minute it's good. What changed?
Thank you. Comments from officers?
Yes, they did go for a central approach. I'm not sure why that was. I think it was easier for the general accessibility to plots, but that was deemed unacceptable. So they did transport assessment on that basis with various speed surveys and road activity data, and we deemed that unacceptable. So that's why it was relocated to the north. It's in a way it relates to the listed building access to the north, which is approximately 5 meters separate. 5 meters separate the two. So that was why it was deemed acceptable. And this was assessed by our highways authority.
Sorry, you're saying you moved the access?
Yes, so it was located centrally. So probably
you moved it nearer one of the double beds, as opposed to only between the double beds.
It was deemed yeah,
that's what's happened.
Yes, yes,
Top and bottom. It's now next to one, and it was between them.
It's not. It's a bit bent, but it's quite straight road up there. That's.
No, it's not. It's on the corner. Can you see?
So it is.
It's just moved next to a bed in the middle of 2 beds. It seems strange they changed their mind. I don't know. I can't see that personally.
Thank you. Any further questions to officers? Councillor Barter and then Councillor Havertworth.
Yeah, just to check something, is this development within the village confines of Belmassa? It is, right. On the question of the access, maybe you could go back to your site plan for a moment, but I think the first public speaker referred to it as a single track access. And I would understand that to mean that for instance, if someone were waiting to come out, no one else could get in. But is that actually the case? That looks like a road that is adequate for 2 vehicles to pass. Is that right?
Yes, it's demonstrated that vehicles can go in and out at the same time.
Yes, so someone coming out would not stop someone else going in and therefore forcing them to wait on the main road. Okay. And the size of the windows was mentioned. I remember reading somewhere, and it may have been on Twitter, so it must be true, that there are now regulations about the size of first floor windows to stop people climbing out. Is that true, or am I dreaming that?
Who knows about that? It's nothing that we would assess as part of our planning policies. It's something that may be picked up at the building control stage, but certainly is in terms of assessing a planning application, it's not a material consideration. Yeah.
Councillor Baggot.
Thank you, Chair. There's been a sort of common theme through most of the speakers about drainage, both foul and storm. Is there a problem there? Has it been resolved? Because my understanding is when you normally build, any surface water has to be taken away either by ditch or into the main stormwater. And secondly, through concerns when I hear the word septic tank, I thought there were things that we didn't use anymore. Why would there even be mentioned?
Paragraph 7.3 deals with surface water drainage requirements, and they did provide a drainage strategy, and this was deemed as acceptable at the time, and obviously further details will be subject to a condition, which I'm not sure what the condition is, but we can ensure that the drainage scheme is fully compliant with those plans and the drainage scheme. Yes, and leverage flow project in that acceptable.
Mr. Lowe,
Yeah, I think just also add, that obviously Anglian Water also deal with the foul drainage, didn't raise any concerns with the application, and neither did the authority, which also deal with surface water drainage. But ultimately, because of the scheme of this size, so it's not classed as a major development, the foul drainage details will be dealt with at the building control stage to make sure that they comply with all building regulations.
I know I'm not supposed to say anything, but why?
no, you can't say anything at this point.
It's
Can
just
you-
that my neighbour has.
Can you leave us to the moments, please? Thank you. Councillor Clutton.
Sorry, I'm good.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. The final point I raised was some 50+ letters of objection. Has there been any discussion at all about the content of those letters? Any, theme coming through? And has anyone been spoken to about?
I mean, just say 50 odd, but that is duplication throughout the 3 or 4 rounds of consultation. I mean, going back to one of the points, we won't meet with neighbours on site unless it's requested. I mean, I undertook on the application last year, so I wasn't there at the application, so I'm not sure if that proves offset. A business site met with any neighbours, but no, that hasn't been taken.
Councillor Clutton.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about Milton Hall. Sorry?
Carry on, Councillor Clutton.
I just wanted to mention about Milton Hall, because obviously that's an established house that's had uninterrupted views across that piece of land. And from the plan that we saw, it seems that one of the corner buildings is going to be very close to that property. And I just wanted to know how close it was and what the landscaping is intended to be between that corner house and Milton Hall.
The site plan illustrates sufficient separation distance, so S&T design guide sets out and the 18 metres between facing habitable windows and facing elevations, and that, I think that secures about 20 metres, so that secures a good level of immunity for both existing and future occupiers.
Thank you. Councillor Barrett.
Yeah, can I request a private recess downstairs, please?
Yeah, can we deal with the questions before we proceed to the debate? Councillor Sharps.
Yes.
We're still on questions. You
Yeah,
put your hand up.
yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I heard that the public has no right of access, is that correct? Just,
It has been public right of access, but
so, earlier when it was stated that it would be a loss, it's reality, I'm seeing it from the point of view, having lived in the village as well, that it's not an access that everybody can go to. It's not that kind of. So I just think that that's very important to mention.
Councillor Randall, is it a question?
No, I'll just,
We're still on questions.
yeah, is it in a conservation area or isn't, or does it just affect?
We've been told that it is in the conservation area.
It is in a conservation, it's only because I was reading, councillor Brown's, and he didn't say that, he just said, it affects conservation area. He didn't say it was in the conservation area, so that's why I just wanted clarification on that.
Thank you. Councillor Beagle.
Yeah, I've got the questions. On your site plan there, it's gone. On your site plan, that just disappeared in front of me. It indicated that there was some trees to be removed, but I couldn't work out where those trees to be removed were on the site. It shows that the key that says trees were dotted around the going, but I couldn't actually find reference to where they were on the actual plan. I wasn't struggling.
Unfortunately, but it's the ones
so it's just the ones at the very top by the let me try and get the mouse to show you by the visibility space. So it is this one, that one there has been removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And second question, has there been a bat survey on the site? I couldn't find out, probably dismissed it possibly, but
The ecology report has been submitted.
no, well, yeah, that's a bat survey, didn't it?
Well, it would have undertook, so it would have been a preliminary ecological appraisal, which would have covered all protected species such as bats, nesting birds, and the like.
Okay, thanks.
Are we all done with questions now? Let's move to the debate. So we'll kick it off.
Could the officers answer the question about the visibility space?
No calling out, please. Councillor Barrett.
Could you?
Yeah, could I request a private discussion downstairs, please?
Do we have a seconder?
No, I want to ask why, because we've been bitten by this only recently. What will we be doing in a recession or recess, whatever you call it, that cannot be done in public?
Councillor Barrett.
I can tell you that the last parish council affected by this were very upset that they did not feel they understood or heard what our deliberations were. And I think this may apply in this case as well.
Thank you. Councillor
What are we
Barrett.
going to do that we cannot do in public?
So that's not appropriate to answer here, hence why I asked for that. So there's a second for that. If there isn't, there isn't. Okay, there's a second.
That's
So we'll
good.
discuss that downstairs.
You asked for a second.
On the second. Yeah. Okay, let's vote on that. All those in favour of Councillor Barrett's proposal for a private session, please show. Thank you. Hands up high. Five. Those against? We'll adjourn for a private session. Thank you.
Was it?
Richard, we're going to go and grab a cup of tea. Go for it. How long they like?
No more than about 15.
15 minutes. Yeah.
That's what frustrates me.
Those two houses that are right of the way. It's the same, certainly these are ground by a house. You can see the picture toaster there. I can get toaster in my house. They are the great. And they've only done that because originally the stupid walls they had on the inside, it made it look like somewhere.
If Sherry and Linda have like, if people are, everything, because there's no like retreat.
Well, the other thing is the line street.
I think I'm more frustrated. What is it? That's talking about. That's works of it.
If they do. Even if they get the same, because it's still a good start. Yes. Yeah. The vehicle can't be. It's even
No, problem. The condolence to Austin wasn't really in the future report. We've got a condition of that.
Talk about. It's not structured.
We have got the chance. He is, the office side of the as to tell they do that harvest, so it doesn't make the result.
Yeah.
At least when they start going on about drainage and concept, they're complaining about land. So there's no more.
Yeah.
Whether you're on the addition or.
What sort of me? Haven't looked at the cost. Haven't looked at the renovation of the houses. And still looking tools. Would you have you have you can go into somewhere. Just picking it up fresh on where are these trees that come out?
I agree with one. Except when the elevation.
Yeah, they're pretty nice. They're supposed to, I suppose they're looking like a boundary, aren't they? That's what they're trying to say, they're lean from.
Window could be.
You know what I'm saying?
What is it, they do that?
But it's office again.
Yeah. It's not lean for these guys to comment. It's objective. Yeah.
It's very different. It's everything available.
And that's what they're doing now. If we refuse it, so it's going to come for us all. Inside the contract. It's pretty key that. Whatever. So exactly. Is it coming from the main toast?
Must have given me a chance to read the section 106 to see about navigation contributions. It's 17 pages into a 19-page legal thesis.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, different clients, but an extension. Brown and Hollow, and you're arguing with the things about the need for a second primary school, it's sterilising land.
Right.
And the council has given no evidence, and won't back its evidence up to about taking it to the school, but they're taking legal advice and public counsel and saying what an expert will actually because they're saying, trying to do primary school children go to as well.
Right.
But actually, when asking them,
No.
the next time it's going to get us out, you've got to prove that, and it's only in relation to the urban extension application, and you don't want a school already.
Right.
Because of the schools didn't come online from other new developments, they're in breach of our obligation. Their kids have filled my client's primary school, council admitted that, it still wants. Because our kids now can't go into the primary school, price paid for. Going on, we're saying, I think so, mate. And that's not a test. And it's like no one thing. Where this is going to go 15 months in. And I'll just say 3 letters for we're not giving anyone information. I'm sorry, we're just not going to take your word for it. We're not going to have information. And the actual idea is your education team, they're just going to be different. So, this is quite interesting.
Main toast road. It's not really a corner. That's that.
Both are as well. Potential candidate. And really wanting to about streamlining calling place, I think.
Yeah.
Some of the determination for the
yeah. I mean, it's terrible. Councillors called it.
Yeah,
Adam Brown, the leader. Just reading he's the leader. The council's the leader. You're just going to what do you want? Read it out.
The last time I came to Parliament, it was exactly the same thing.
The further address. The further address. This is Ripples, your council. This is the. Because he's living, yeah. So he's got a 15-minute journey.
When I say last time, I'm not been that well. application is another one where. No, yeah.
We should say that, which obviously, if we don't. What am I doing again? Have you seen his face? What am I doing? Why am I here? Why did you drag me here?
That's the problem.
Jim Royal, well, yeah.
You just gotta. Yeah. And you've always got planning function.
They might not like it.
We've already got.
And then I've got to say, I'll start bringing that up again.
I mean, obviously, I'm going to talk about it, but I'm like, yeah, I was able to share it, then I'm not.
So this is always a bit.
But if nobody comes up, then
Oh, well, it's just like, up to you, but I think they should have. I don't know, you say we've got a right to it. Just. Recommendation. The other side. You can tell us where. Working for bank consultant. Yeah, on the other side, isn't it? It is great. He don't run over there. Surely like a local.
It's just like, it's really good
Waiting for Councillor Sharps at the moment, and then we'll move forward. Back in session now. Does anyone wish to make a proposal? Councillor Barrett.
Yeah, I'm going to make a proposal that we defer until the site visits conducted, the post members and reasons that Richard will go through the details.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to second that? Councillor Hibben.
Thank you, Chair.
Does anyone wish to speak on that? All those in favour of a site visit, please shout.
I was just going to,
After
I was
Mr.
just
Ward's
going to
what
actually,
we're voting on.
prior to the vote, I was just going to state that if a site visit is made, it will actually come in front of a new committee. And with potentially none of the members of this committee could actually be present.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Chair. I'll address Councillor Pritchard's point first before I go into the reasons for the site visit. Obviously, WNC has all our elections on May 1st, as we know. So it's not possible anyway to determine who will go on that site visit. But obviously, there have been changes proposed to committees. So when this application comes back to committee, it will be determined by the new non-strategic plan committee. And that site visit will be held on Tuesday, the 3rd of June. So they are the circumstances that we're faced with due to the election. There are no more meetings of this committee for the election, so it's inevitable that it will be dealt with by different councillors potentially after that. But I'll go to the reasons and the proposal. So the committee adjourned to receive advice from officers and has resolved to defer for a site visit for the following reasons, which are: 1, to assess the proposed development in its local context; 2, to assess the impact of the neighbouring listed buildings, of the developments on the neighbouring listed buildings and conservation area; and 3, to assess the impact of the proposal on highway safety in the village. That is proposed by Councillor Barrett and seconded by Councillor Bicknell. And to reiterate, that site visit will be taking place on the 3rd of June. Then the application will be brought back to what will be the non-strategic planning committee on the 5th of June. Thank you, Chair, that you can put that to the vote.
Thank you. All those in favour of the proposal, please show. Thank you. Those again? Thank you. Any abstentions? Would you summarise the result, please?
Thank you, Chair. That is 7 votes in favour, 1 vote against, 1 abstention. Therefore, the motion is carried and this application is deferred for a site visit on the 3rd of June. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 8, Lansfield Road Toaster.
Thank you, Chair. This application relates to a site located within Towcester. The site lies in the north of the town at the furthest extent of the Holterfield Road, as outlined in red on the site location plan on the slide in front of you. The site consists of an existing commercial building and its associated yard space and car park. The existing building was granted planning permission in 2022 and is of contemporary utilitarian design. This is a photo looking towards the front of the site, taken from Holterfield Road. The fencing and gates can be seen defining the site's southwestern boundary.
This is a closer up photo of the site's main access gate, which primarily serves the site's yard area. This is a photo just to the right of that previous photo, looking at the site's second access gate, which serves the site's car park. This is a photo taken from within the site, which shows the existing commercial building. And then again, this is a photo just to the right of that photo, again showing the existing commercial building. You can see the existing car park as well and the yard area. This is a photo taken from Campbell Close, which is to the rear of the site. The tree line marks the boundary of the site's eastern boundary, that is. And you can see the rear of the existing commercial building in the background as well. Again, this is a photo from Campbell Close, looking just from a slightly different angle, looking at the rear of the commercial building again. This is the proposed site plan. This application seeks planning permission to install 6 flues to the roof of the existing commercial building on the site. The application also seeks retrospective planning permission for the erection of fencing, which is of black fitness design. So again, this is the site plan showing the existing building and the fencing in the southwest of the site at the bottom there. These are the proposed floor plans of the building showing the location of the 6 flues proposed on the roof. But the next slide shows the location a little bit better. This is the roof plan, again showing the proposed flues. 4 of the flues would be clustered close to the apex of the roof, and 2 of the flues would be clustered towards the eaves of the roof. These are the west and north elevations, the proposed elevations. The proposed flues can be seen extending at the top of the building by a maximum of 3.5 metres from the roof. And then these are the proposed east and south elevations. Planning officers have carefully considered the impact of the proposed development, particularly in relation to design, neighbouring amenity and highways, and consider that the proposed development would comply with the requirements of the development plan. Therefore, on the basis of the assessment set out in the officer report, planning officers recommend that the application is approved, subject to the conditions outlined in the report.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any questions to officers about what you've heard so far? Councillor Pritchard.
What emissions will be actually extracted from the premises?
So the flues are for spray booths that would be used in relation to the existing use of the building, which is as an MOT facility and a car repair workshop in relation to emissions spraying cars.
Any further questions? Well, we have a recommendation before us. Does anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to make a proposal?
I propose we accept the
Councillor Barrett?
recommendation. I propose we accept the recommendation.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Randall?
Yeah, I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you. Mr Woods, could you summarise what we're voting on?
Thank you, Chair. Straightforward proposal from Councillor Barrett, seconded by Councillor Randall, to accept his advice on this matter. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Mr Woods?
Chair, 9 votes in favour, none against, no abstentions, therefore unanimously carried. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Item 9.
Land east of Manor Farm, Rose Hill, Ashton. This application relates to a site within the village of Ashton. The site lies in the north of the village along Rose Hill, as outlined in red on the site location plan on the slide in front of you. The site consists of a vegetated field, which is overgrown in many areas, along with an existing dilapidated structure, which is
which is currently fenced off in the north of the site. The site is surrounded by residential properties. This is a photo taken from Road Hill, looking south. The site boundary is indicated by the line of trees in the right photo. This is again another photo taken from Road Hill, but this time looking north up towards where the previous photo was taken. The site boundary is defined by the trees on the left in this photo. This is a photo taken from the southeast looking towards the site. You can see the clearing in the left of the photo, and that is a public right of way. This is a photo taken in the north of the site looking south. You'll note the dwellings in the background of the photo there at the border of the site, and beyond those dwellings is the wider village of Ashton. This is a photo taken in the west of the site looking towards this is a photo taken from the east of the site looking towards the west. This is a photo taken from the south of the site looking towards the north. And this is a photo taken from the west of the site looking towards the east. So this application relates to a previously approved planning permission, reference to VUNS 2021-1434 FUL. This is the site plan for that previous planning permission. The permission approved 6 dwellings on the site, and a legal agreement was signed which required 3 of the dwellings to be affordable housing. In June 2024, the council approved a deed of variation to this legal agreement, which removed the requirement for 3 of the dwellings to be affordable. This was approved on the basis of a viability assessment submitted that indicated that affordable housing on the site would not be viable. So that is the site plan for the previous planning permission. This is the site plan for the application that is before committee this evening. The application seeks to vary condition 2 of the previous planning application, which was a condition that defined the approved plans of the previous commission. It is proposed to alter the approved plans in order to change the layout and design of the previously approved dwellings. The number of dwellings proposed would remain 6. However, the plot sizes and size of the proposed dwellings would be altered, with the plots overall becoming more consistent in terms of size across the site. The previously approved planning permission featured a row of 3 2-bedroomed terraced bungalows, with the remaining 3 plots consisting of 4-bedroomed detached 2-storey dwellings. The scheme features entirely 2-storey dwellings with 3 of the plots accommodating 4-bedroom dwellings. So this is the scheme for the this evening, and 2 of the plots would accommodate 2-bedroom dwellings. The alterations. These are the elevations for plot 1 and the proposed elevation for plot 1. You'll note that there's both a elevations of the dwelling and a detached garage, and then you can see in the proposed floor plans here sort of a relationship between the dwelling and the attached garage. Plot 1 is a 4-bedroom dwelling. These are the elevations for plot 2. This time with an attached garage, again 4-bedroom dwelling, and these are the floor plans for plot 2. And then plot 3 and proposed elevations with an attached garage and the proposed floor plans. These are the proposed elevations for plot 4, again with a detached garage. And this is the floor plans. These are the proposed elevations for plots 5 and 6, which would both be 2-bedroom dwellings. You can see the plots in relation to each other there. And the proposed floor plans for plots 5 and 6. And plots 5 and 6 would share a garage to the rear of the plots, with each dwelling having space in the garage and parking in front. Planning officers have carefully considered the impacts of the proposed development, particularly in relation to the principle of development design, neighbouring amenity and highway safety. Following this, planning officers considered that the development would be acceptable. Therefore, on the basis of the assessment set out in the officer report, planning officers recommend that the application is approved, subject to the conditions outlined in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr Woods, at this point in the proceedings, we were expecting a verbal address from Councillor McCord, the local ward member, in his capacity as the originator for the call on this item.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, the application was called in by Councillor McCord due to the removal of the affordable housing element, which the officer has touched upon, and the impact on highway safety. However, in the absence of Councillor McCord, this is not a barrier to turning the application tonight. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Now we'll hear from the agent for the applicant, Mr Hatfield. You come to the front, please. Councillor Barrett?
Yeah, just for the minutes, can be noted that it's unfortunate that the colleague's not here. Can Chair make that clear to the colleague, call in should always be represented. Thank you.
Is your light on? It is. Yeah, please start. When you're ready, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chris Hatfield and I'm engaged as a viability consultant on behalf of the applicant. I also act in the same capacity for a number of developers, housing associations and councils, including North Northamptonshire. The applicants and I are fully in agreement with your officer's report. There are no technical objections from officers or statutory consultees to this application, and the layout plan has been amended to pick up any comments from your highways team. The site benefits from an existing planning permission for 6 private dwellings following an early viability review process which I undertook. My viability assessment at the time was approved by the council's own independent viability assessor, and this existing permission could still be developed by my client and is therefore a material planning consideration. The application before you tonight seeks approval to change the existing plans to provide more appropriate development to reflect the current housing market and to be more consistent in design across the site. The proposed dwelling mix includes 2 2-bedroom houses and 4 4-bedroom houses, which should satisfy the aims of your policy LH10. The scheme's viability remains impacted by the same factors as the earlier assessment, namely the low density and rural nature of the project, relatively high construction costs due to the quality and size of the scheme, and significant site abnormal costs. The housing market remains subdued, and although it's showing signs of recovery, there is still relatively weak house buyer demand caused by current economic uncertainty and affordability issues arising from higher mortgage interest rates, and with potential buyers waiting for the Bank of England base rate and therefore mortgage rates to fall. Using updated costs and revenues for the current proposal, the scheme would still be deemed unviable. Any reimposition of affordable housing would significantly worsen the viability and would render the scheme completely unviable and undeliverable. Your officer's report confirms that any such request will be unnecessary and unreasonable given the site already has permission for 6 private dwellings, which, as I said earlier, is a material planning consideration. The scheme would be brought forward following permission, however, and it's therefore requested that the committee approves the current Section 73 application in front of you tonight as recommended by your officers. I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I'm happy to answer any questions relating to viability.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr Hatfield? Mr Brinkley?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, the reason for the change of the layout was purely viability issue, was it?
No, it was to regularise the design, and the previously approved scheme was designed for affordable housing, which obviously, given this is now a more private scheme, it wasn't The previous scheme wasn't really appropriate for Markenstown.
Okay.
Any further questions? Yeah, Councillor Barton?
Do you have any information or analysis to suggest whether there is a need for affordable housing in Ashton?
I don't, but that's more of a matter for the council's housing officer. My role is to assess liability and whether the site can substantiate a fair return for the landowner, a fair return for the developer, and that's enshrined in national planning policy guidance and viability guidance. And as I say, I do act for councils, so I have to be even-handed in what I do. And my work back in 2024 was independently peer-reviewed by your council's own external assessor and was proved to be viable. The scheme since then has increased the amount of private sale accommodation, but the scheme was loss-making previously, totally viable, and now it makes a modest profit because of the changes to the development mix. It's still significantly below where government agrees a fair developer margin will be, and you know, on that basis, I have to act even-handedly because I act for council as well. So the assessments and inputs I use when I act for developers or council remain the same.
No, would have done just fine.
Sorry.
Any further questions for our speaker? Thank you very much. Right, all the officers would wish to work? No? Councillor Barton?
Do we have any analysis or evidence as to the need or lack of it for affordable housing in Ashton?
No, we don't have any specific for that area as to whether there is a need for affordable housing in the area.
Thank you. Councillor Rowan?
Yeah, thank you. So we've gone, obviously that was passed before, and you know, we've gone from 3 affordable 50% down to nothing. And I say that there's no 106 or anything, so there's nothing given back from that development, is that correct?
The section 106 that was agreed with the original planning commission, the deed of variation removed the affordable housing from that, and there wouldn't be another section 106 as a result of this application.
Okay, and the other question I've got, I used to think that construction on site was after 8 o'clock, 7:30 till 6 o'clock. That is a long time, Monday to Friday, 7:30 till 6.
Who would like to answer that?
That condition was suggested by our environmental health team, and that's their standard site operating hours, as far as I'm aware.
Okay. And the other thing, I'm looking at that road, I felt that road was very narrow, near a bend, and the access, not the previous one, you come around the corner and that access is there, so it is hard to tell on a picture, but, you know, and there's no pavements, is there, so, you know, anybody walking out from that area as well, you know, it's, to me, it looks, you know, it looks like infrastructure.
Do you have a photograph?
That they're walking out there, if you've got children walking to school or something, like where do they go? And it did look quite a narrow road, and I think previous down there was the bend going from the other way.
In terms of the access, the two accesses that are proposed haven't changed from the original application, and obviously that original application was approved by the council. So essentially the principle of two accesses in that location has been established, and it would be unreasonable for us to resist it at this point. Additionally, the local highway authority haven't offered any objections to those accesses.
Okay, Councillor Biddle?
Yeah, to support Councillor Randall, primary school is just down the road from there. And I find it strange that we've got a brand new estate that has no pathway access into the village and access to what's going on there. Especially this is proper road, there's a double bend down edge before the church, school. It seems strange. And the second thing, I think in your presentation, you mistakenly said bungalows. But they're not, they're dormy houses, aren't they? I'm sure I heard the word bungalow, I'm very excited.
The original scheme was bungalows.
Oh, right.
But this application of all committee is not proposing bungalows.
Okay, any views on this application then? Councillor Randall, you coming back in?
Well,
Your answer.
I think there's some way safety, but if it's already been agreed, you know, what can you do? You know, that's the thing, but for to me, it's not vote. I'll refuse on that, because it's really agreed to that.
Okay, would someone like to make a proposal? We have a recommendation before us. Come along. Councillor Dudley.
I'll make a recommendation that we accept the assistant director's recommendation.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Barker.
Well, because it needs seconding, but I regret very much the loss of affordable housing. Let's put it to the vote.
Any other views? I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour of the recommendation, please show. Those against? Any abstentions? Mr. Wood, summarise the decision.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, the council got a proposal to accept officer's advice to approve the application. There are 4 in favour, 4 against, 4 abstentions. Therefore, the motion is carried. Thank you, Chair.
Now we have a piece of urgent business. So our urgent business is the West County Primary School, Main Street, Leatherhead. There's a proposal for great removal and cut back of 2 stop pine trees.
Thank you, Chair. This report refers to a notification received from Bliss Charity Primary School. They wish to carry out works to trees on their premises, which are in the Nether Hayford Conservation Area. This is being considered at this committee rather than under delegated powers for the reasons set out in the report at paragraphs 1.2 and 1.3. The monitoring officer has been made aware of this notification and confirmed that we are dealing with it in accordance with the Constitution. The 2 Scots pine trees in question are on the southern corners of the school site, adjoining the road, Buckbrook Road, overlooking the green. Branches of both trees are in contact with overhead utility cables adjacent to the school site. It is proposed that these branches be cut back or removed to provide some suitable clearance for those cables. In terms of consultation, Nether Hayford Parish Council have indicated support for the proposal. The trees are of high amenity value, but the proposed works will have a small impact on that amenity. The works accord with acceptable arboricultural practice, and they will have limited impact on the character of the conservation area. So the recommendation in this report is that the committee raises no objection to the notification as set out in the report, with the informatives as shown at the end of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Randall.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Chair. Obviously, you know, they need to be cut down if they're affecting cables and things, but I just wondered why they left it as long as they did, because obviously they don't just suddenly spring up overnight and be in contact with You know, they could have done that 12 months ago. And obviously, you're just trimming the branch out of the way. It's not got the, it's not taking down the tree. And if works need to be done, important works to be done, as long as they're carried out in a sympathetic way, I agree with officers' advice. But I just wondered why they left it so late. Is it because they didn't realise it was in a conservation area? Or, that was my question really. But, happy to propose that we insect.
I don't know the reason as to why they left it to the time that they did. It's not for me to really judge on that.
Perhaps it was neglect.
No, it's the only reason I ask that is because there are a lot of properties that don't actually realise they're in a conservation area. I've seen it time and time again that even the council has had own properties that they didn't know was in a conservation area and have done things in the past they shouldn't have done. So I just wondered, how regularly they, especially with the school, they might not understand that. That was all. And
Any other views? No? We have a recommendation before us. Would you like to summarise that? Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Chair. Proposed by Councillor Randall and seconded by Councillor Pritchard. That the council offers no objections to the proposal, provided the work is carried out within the 2 years of the date of the notification. It does not breach any conditions attached to any planning consent affecting the property set out in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll move to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation, please show. None against, no abstentions. Councillor
Thank you, Chair. That's carried unanimously, 8 in favour, and obviously Councillor Bickle withdrew as notified earlier in the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Yeah.
Could I make a very quick statement? As this is my last committee meeting on behalf of the West Northants Council, I've been sitting on various planning committees for the last 7 years. I'd like to thank all of my colleagues that have actually supported and also objected to some of my concerns, irrespective of what party political processes they are. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody here, and also I will certainly miss my 6 o'clock session each month. Thank you very much.
Councillor Scholz, do you wish to make a short statement?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair. I'd also like to thank the Chair and all of the officers for putting up with us, because frankly, I know sometimes we can be quite difficult, but I'd like to say it's been a very enjoyable time on the planning committee. I think that we've become quite a crew of sometimes knowledgeable and sometimes not, but you always guide us carefully, which is always appreciated. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting few weeks and a very interesting April. So yeah, thank you all. It's really been very much fun.
Does anyone else wish to make a short statement before I close the meeting?
Not playing violins or?
Councillor Barter?
After you close the meeting.
Okay, well, I'll make a statement before I close the meeting. Planning committees are a part of the planning system, and they must provide local democratic oversight of planning decisions as effectively as possible, focusing on those applications which require member input. The Planning and Infrastructure Bill is seeking to introduce new measures to reform planning committees to facilitate faster decision making on applications and ensure greater standardisation over the operation of committees. However, over the past 4 years, I know that we've all played our part in providing local oversight needed whilst determining applications in accordance with the plan, unless material considerations indicate otherwise. For that, I thank you. As your chairman, I thank you all for your support. Thank you very much. And so with that, I shall close the meeting at what time is it? Exactly 8 o'clock. Thank you.
I have tabled a suggestion that in order to say farewell to this planning committee and some members who can't be here this evening, we meet in the middle at 7 o'clock next Thursday evening for a few convivial non-party beers. Or whatever you wish. So who is up for that? And if anybody wants one this evening, I'm up for it. I don't mind having two beers.